guys, it's Deborah, and today we are going to be doing a review of my self-publishing process for my first book. I was so dumb. I had two goals for my first book. First was for it to get here before my daughter's birthday. The second was to not lose any money doing it. Everyone makes tons of mistakes the first time around, and I was no exception to this rule. However, there were some things that I did get right. You guys have seen my title P&L. It is a ridiculously low cash outlay for a children's picture book. That was one of the best things I could have done for my own sanity going into self-publishing, especially when I had literally no idea how many copies I would be able to sell. Whenever I felt like things were just taking too long or it was too frustrating or too hard, I pushed through all of that because I knew somebody would be very, very upset if the book did not get there before her birthday. I knew how the industry worked, what kind of output, kind of release timeframes I had to hit, how each part of the process should work, the nature of the agreements I was being asked to sign, and how all the money was going to flow through. Even understanding all of that, I still got a lot of things wrong. I was so focused on minimizing that cash outlay that I completely lost sight of spending the money when I had to. I actually started illustrating the first book on the back of scrap paper using my daughter's colored pencils because I was so scared of spending money. And in my mind, I had this very convoluted process of how I would do pencil drawings, and then I would do line art and pen, and then I would do a test color and color pencil, then I would scan it in at high resolution, and then I would use a very old iPad and stylus to re-ink and recolor digitally, and somehow that was gonna turn into a professional looking product at the end of it. It got to the point where my psychologist was like, Deb, why are you doing this? How does this make sense? This is actually really stupid. I should have known better. Here I was, not willing to spend any money on drawing equipment that would help me execute the most critical part of my MVP, the pictures in a children's picture book. By the time I woke up and realized just how dumb I was being, I had wasted all of February. In fact, I had to spend all of March redoing everything I had done in February. Again, I really should have known better. In my past life as an auditor, you always get review points on everything. Your work papers, your memos, your board reports, your presentations, everything. And when I was writing auditing textbooks, despite knowing this, because I was panicking about the fact that I had lost an entire month on the illustrations, right? So I was trying to push really hard ahead with my proofs, which I knew were going to be my second bottleneck. So I pushed forward and I started typesetting, doing all of that, doing all my ebooks, everything without waiting for feedback from my beta readers. Well, to nobody's surprise, because I have also done beta reads for other authors and beta reads always turn up something, my beta readers had some really, really good feedback for me. And I ended up making quite a few changes to address their feedback, including changing the cover and the title of the book. What I didn't realize was, as a publisher, producing one true final file. That just doesn't work. You actually need many true final files because every single format and printer is going to require their own files because they have their own specifications. So if you're printing a hardback with Ingram, a paperback with Ingram, a paperback with KDP, doing a Kindle ebook, an ebook on Nook, an ebook on Apple, an ebook on Google, that's 7 formats already. Every time you're going to revise something, you need to revise all of these things. And just to give you an idea of how long a single revision takes, one of my ARC people emailed me on release day saying, hey, I think you need to look at this because I actually found an error in the book. Really wish as an auditor I could go, that's just immaterial. To change just that one character across all of these files and then re-upload them all to all these distribution platforms, that took me at least 3, probably 4 hours. So all up, I put through a revision for my self-edits, the proofing errors that I found, the beta reader feedback comments, and also the error that my ARC person found on release day. 4 revisions, guys. 4. I sincerely hope I never come even close to having to do 4 revisions ever again. 2. Maximum. A lot of people get put off by which platforms do and don't charge revision fees, but in the scheme of things of what you're spending on your book, those revision fees are immaterial. The problem with revisions is every single revision takes so much time to do, And every time you do a revision, there is a risk that you're going to introduce more errors into your book. The biggest mistake I made by far was not focusing on selling my book. Writing and publishing the book is the easy part. That's something you don't really understand and internalize until after you've hit the publish button, because up until that point, everything in terms of the systems, who's involved, all the things you have to do, all the steps in the process, it's just all so overwhelming that you feel like this is really, really hard. But when you get to the end of all that and hit publish, you start having the realization that, oh crap, I am the publisher here. So I am also responsible for selling my book, and I actually have no idea how to sell my book. Selling things actually terrifies me. It is just the complete opposite of everything I was raised to do. So even though I can sit here and analyze exactly what's going on in my brain, that, there's all this negative self-talk because Asians just don't put themselves forward because we value humility, because anytime somebody praises you, the socially correct response is to put yourself down because you shouldn't be bragging about yourself, because you shouldn't take pride in yourself, because being proud of yourself is not a socially acceptable thing. And even though I intellectually knew that there was a demand out there for this product, I just kind of had all of these thought patterns going on. That said, because I had done so much research, I kind of knew the big things you were meant to do. So I had a website up. I put out an audiobook for free. I started a mailing list and did a launch newsletter. I set up pre-orders and I sent out advanced review copies. And so all of those things kept me busy until release day, at which point I was a bit like, I don't know what to do now. I don't want to sit here and just keep spamming people on social media saying, hey, buy my book. That doesn't seem cool. So I'm just going to sit here and mash F5 and just see how many copies I've sold every day for the next week. That was not a psychologically healthy thing to do, so don't do that. You're probably going to do it anyway, because as I hear from other self-published authors who have published 16 plus books, they're still doing this. It's human nature, basically. But try not to let the reports get to you. Just don't obsess over them. What really saved me from failing at my goal was my break-even point was really, really low. 83 copies. And I hit that within the first week of release. And then I decided to double down on my mistake because I was a bit like, woo, I've broken even, don't need to do any more. Hi, tick, project done, goals achieved, move on. What I should have done instead was realize, I set a really low bar and hit it with a half-assed marketing plan. So let's see what happens if I really give it a good go. For book 2, I'm going to do 2 things. Number 1, my process for doing the interior art and book layout and typesetting. For book 1, I did all of my text in Procreate, and I also layered all of my illustrations this way. Sketch, line art, colors, highlights, shadows. That was because I bought a first generation iPad Pro, so I only really had a maximum of 12, 13 layers at any one time when I was working to my trim size and print resolutions. That caused me problems later on during book formatting and proofing, because I realized that some parts of the text or the illustrations were being cut off in the wrong places, and I couldn't just rearrange elements of the illustration. I actually had to erase them and draw them again. So this time around, I'm really going to do a couple of things. Keep every illustrated element on its own layer. Keep all of the text out of Procreate and lay it all out in Scribus. Instead of working through every single spread from start to completion, I'm going to do the whole book by stages. That way I get better consistency across the different spreads, and I can also work on doing better visual storytelling. The second thing I'm going to do is to put a whole lot more focus on marketing. I've also invested in all of these courses to actually learn how to market and sell better. So at this point, I can't really say whether any of these courses are worth their price tags, but I will have an answer for you when book 2 is published and we do a review of the book 2 process. If you found that insightful, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this on the business side of self-publishing.